You know, talking about economic challenges, we have economic challenges right here in America. Right now, what we have is stimulus package, buying bad assets, all of that is happening, but what is our growth policy? There was a wonderful debate on CNBC, and I saw Vikram Pandit for the whole hour, you know, in front of Jack Welch and the big guys, regulators there. It was being moderated by Money Honey, Maria Bartiromo. And the Vikram Pandit, the head of Citibank, kept on saying, what's our growth policy? We're not going to live off of the stimulus. We need to have a policy of growing something. And he was talking about a couple of issues. One is grow our auto industry, make it local. You know, it's way too many foreign companies are involved. I think it should be local. That's some middle-class jobs that you need to keep.
But not just local, but thinking about our environment and looking forward into new technologies, right? That's
right. I mean, if you're going to remake it, that it'll be beneficial to us. The solar energy, the wind energy, they are very good industries that we can build middle class. Vikram Pandit kept saying, we need to build middle class. Without middle class, all this banking services that are being provided, they're all a bubble. They are not helping you build something. These are just services. So they're talking about agriculture. That's the other one. You know, we are importing way too much food from other countries. We need to grow our own. 4% of the population is involved in growing agriculture. I think we can make smaller farms, more families get involved. That's middle class.
Well, you know, that's very interesting that you bring up this issue of like service jobs versus actually manufacturing things and growing things. Because there was an article in the New York Times Magazine about the case for working with your hands. And the idea being that we're so focused on knowledge jobs, right?
Yeah.
Working in office cubicles, essentially, providing services, that we've become quite disconnected from anything much more hands-on, like the, repairing cars or building things or growing things. And that oftentimes we look down on such jobs, like they require less intellect or they're dirtier jobs, but they're so essential.
That's right.
Right? And they're very, very important. So to dismiss them altogether and to look down on people in those positions doesn't do us any good as a country.
That's right. And secondly, these are the jobs that the government has to make sure through their policies to say that these jobs have legs. They're not going to be walking away from it. These jobs should be provided legs. I was very impressed with Vikram Pandit throughout the hour. He says the entrepreneurial portion of it, it is the middle class that you got to make sure they grow, and the only way they can grow is if they have a sustainable jobs. And I thought we were going to remake some of these industries, particularly the auto industry, the energy industry, the agriculture industry. These are the sustainable jobs if the policy of the government says you cannot export these jobs.
I understand the need for us to be thinking about what middle-class jobs we need to keep here for people, but what about on the global scale? What about the World Trade Organization that's helping countries to negotiate agreements so that trade, hopefully, it's not always, but hopefully could be more fair? I mean, we're not going to be able to do everything here. We certainly need to be dependent on other countries.
That is very true, but you know, you got to give certain jobs to the middle class. Yes, there is an innovation, and you can keep a quota for that. Maybe quota is not the proper word. Maybe sharing of certain technologies. Let the world come up just like before, but keep some for yourself.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think that the Obama administration is talking about really investing in these kinds of industries so that it's not about a protectionist attitude of keep everything here, but that if we're the leader, then of course we will create the jobs and we'll do well financially, right, and economically, by showing that leadership, not by closing our doors.
That's right. Very good way to look at it.
You know, there are a lot of people in the older generation who are interested in staying in touch via email. Often we think older people don't want to use computers, don't enjoy that, but nowadays this is how we stay connected. The problem is that a lot of the email programs that we're used to using are kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of clutter on the screen. There's a lot to click around. And for those in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who are learning to use email for the first time, it just seems like a daunting task. So there are now things like Pawpaw Mail, which is an email system that is designed for senior citizens and for their caregivers. So there are no logins or links, No ad boxes, no news flashes, no pokes, no Twitters, none of that stuff that we find kind of annoying. Instead, it's really just a software program that's really simple and basic for people to be able to use email. And it is also designed with the senior's caregiver in mind, so in case that person can't do everything on their own, it's easier for the person staying with them or helping them out to navigate the system. And there are many older people who can get rather testy when someone younger assumes they don't use email just because they're older. They want to prove that, hey, we can be in touch just as much as anyone else. There was an example in this article from the New York Times about Mary McCurdy, who is 92 years old, lives in a small town in Ohio, and boasts 75 names in her email address book, and has 10 to 12 emails coming in every day. So she's very proud to stay connected electronically.
Well, I hope she's now blogging because, you know, folks, bloggers are getting sued nowadays. Many companies actually encourage people to blog about their products. You know, it's like a publicity. But at times, some of these bloggers are very critical. For instance, the porn industry has a research company. So this woman accuses that particular industry that, look, their emails were breached. Their customer data was breached. So watch out. And they say, uh-oh, you're destroying our business, because that is the heart of their business. So they sued that lady. And what's the lady going to do? She says, I have protection, so-called shield laws that protect reporters from suits, because she was acting as a journalist and was investigating the hacker attack while researching a story in adult-oriented spam. Basically, what they're saying, hey, look, because we are writing, we're journalists. You can't sue us.
That is really interesting, because anybody could call themselves a journalist using that criteria, right? I
That's
have a
right.
blog. I'm reporting. So,
that's precisely.
So I can say what I want to say.
So those of you who are blogging and calling other companies or people names, watch out. You can be absolutely sued, and there is no defense attorney who can defend you if you are not a real journalist.
Well, with the slowing economy, everybody wants to go back to school. Very interestingly, PhD programs, particularly for business schools, are seeing a huge jump in applications. For the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, applications up 40% for PhDs. Wharton at Pennsylvania, 34% rise. Columbia Business School, 27% rise. So there's clearly a lot of people who are seeing this is a good time to study further, not be in the job market, and hopefully build their skills by getting more credentials and going back to school.
You know, the universities only hire PhDs to teach. So PhDs in business are absolutely necessary. And of course, they're the ones who actually go out and test new models, test new way of doing business. So kind of nice to see a whole bunch of people getting into the profession.
Yeah, and an academic career is a really nice alternative. If the private sector is not for you, then you can still be doing research and be involved in business from the academic side instead of actually doing it yourself. And I think, you know, there's a lot of job prospects here.
Beyond this, the United States government is looking for a lot of people. So those of you who are educated, you know, I want to recommend to you to apply for government jobs. There are plenty of them right now. It just takes time.
It does.
How long does it take?
It took me about 3 months. Yeah.